Success isn't just about talent or opportunity. It's about discipline, specifically mastering the three areas most people ignore: your mind, your mouth, and your money. These are the quiet forces that shape your future long before the world ever sees the results. Control them, and you'll unlock a level of success most only talk about. Your mind is where everything begins. Every breakthrough, every setback, every win or loss starts with a thought. If your mind is cluttered, distracted, or ruled by fear, your potential gets hijacked before you take your first step. So you train it, you feed it with clarity, you discipline it with focus. You stop letting every emotion or external voice determine how you see yourself. You choose your thoughts the way a warrior chooses a weapon. Intentionally, you learn how to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. You learn how to separate truth from noise. And in doing so, you take back control of the one thing that influences every choice you make. Everything begins in the mind. Every decision, every habit, every action, it all originates from thought. Mastering your mind is not just helpful, it is essential. It is the foundation upon which all success is built. A focused, disciplined, and intentional mind becomes the launch pad for every result that follows. Without mastery of thought, even the best plans fall apart. With it, even in chaos, progress is inevitable. So the mind is constantly receiving input, information, opinions, doubts, distractions. If left unmanaged, it becomes a breeding ground for fear, comparison, procrastination, and self-sabotage. But when trained, it becomes your sharpest tool. A mastered mind does not react to everything. It filters, it pauses, it decides what matters and what doesn't. It refuses to give energy to things that drain focus. It recognizes that not all thoughts are truths. It knows how to question the negative narrative and replace it with one rooted in growth and strength. When you control your mind, you no longer chase every shiny object or bend under pressure. You develop clarity, and clarity is power. With a clear mind, your goals become more than just ideas. They become blueprints. You start to act with precision. Distractions lose their grip. You recognize what aligns with your purpose and what doesn't. You stop being pulled in 100 directions and start moving with intention in one. Fear doesn't disappear, but it no longer dictates your path. A trained mind acknowledges fear without bowing to it. It sees challenges as part of the journey, not as stop signs. It finds lessons in failures instead of reasons to quit. Resilience is born here, not from avoiding hard things, but from facing them with mental strength. A mastered mind doesn't seek comfort, it seeks growth. It pushes past the urge to quit and leans into discomfort, knowing that's where transformation lives. The way you think shapes the way you feel, and how you feel influences how you act. When your mind is undisciplined, emotions run wild and your behavior follows. But when you lead with thought instead of feeling, you create stability. You don't spiral from one mood to the next. You develop internal peace. And that peace becomes the platform from which you build. You are no longer ruled by circumstances. You become the constant in the midst of change. Mind mastery also builds confidence. Confidence isn't pretending you have it all figured out. It's the quiet certainty that no matter what comes, you'll handle it. That belief comes from mental repetition, choosing faith over fear, choosing focus over distraction, choosing to rise rather than retreat. And each time you choose growth over comfort, the mind becomes stronger. What once triggered you no longer has the same power. What once intimidated you now challenges you to expand. The most successful people in any field have trained their minds to work for them, not against them. They've learned to think long-term in a short-term world. They've learned to stay grounded when things go wrong and humble when things go right. That steadiness doesn't happen by accident. It happens through daily discipline. It's built through quiet moments of reflection, honest self-awareness, and a commitment to choose thoughts that empower rather than limit. Success starts between your ears. Before it shows in your bank account, your business, your relationships, or your body, it shows in your mindset. And the best part is, this kind of success is within reach for anyone. You don't need a perfect background or flawless circumstances. You need to decide that your mind will no longer be an open door to anything and everything. You'll filter it, train it, protect it, and use it for what it was meant to do, lead you forward. When you master your mind, success is no longer a question of if, it's a matter of when. Words are not just sounds. They are tools, seeds, weapons, and bridges. Every word spoken either builds or breaks, strengthens or weakens, moves you forward or holds you back. To speak is to cast influence on yourself and on the world around you. Your words hold power far beyond what most people ever realize. They shape perception, direct behavior, and create momentum, for better or worse. The way you talk to yourself becomes your internal soundtrack. If that soundtrack is filled with negativity, doubt, and fear, your actions will reflect that. But if you choose words of strength, clarity, and belief, your confidence begins to grow. The way you speak to yourself, even when no one is listening, is shaping your future. You can either tear yourself down before the world gets a chance, or you can reinforce your inner foundation and walk into every room already grounded. Speaking with power starts with self-awareness. Most people speak out of habit, not intention. They respond impulsively, complain reflexively, and diminish themselves casually. But what you say out loud becomes more than language. It becomes reality. If you keep telling people you're overwhelmed, you stay overwhelmed. If you constantly say you're stuck, your brain will stop looking for solutions. But if you shift your words, if you start saying you're learning, growing, adjusting, evolving, then that becomes the direction your life starts to take. Words carry energy. When you speak life, possibility, and belief, people feel it. When you speak doubt, fear, and frustration, that becomes contagious too. Your voice is either part of the solution or part of the noise. Every conversation is an opportunity to uplift or deplete. And that choice isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about being intentional with your language, even when things are hard. You can speak honestly and still speak powerfully. What you say to others also reflects how you see yourself. If you gossip, criticize, or constantly point out what's wrong in others, that reveals insecurity within. But when you speak with kindness, respect, and directness, you not only influence others, you elevate yourself. Powerful people don't waste words. They speak with clarity. They listen more than they talk. And when they do speak, it's intentional. Their words carry weight because they aren't thrown around carelessly. Boundaries are spoken. Vision is spoken. Love, leadership, standards, and values, they are all communicated through language. If you don't articulate your goals, your needs, your limits, no one will guess them for you. If you don't speak about your future with conviction, your energy will lack direction. Speak as if what you say matters, because it does. Every time you open your mouth, you are either reinforcing your future or undermining it. You are narrating your life through your words. If the story you're telling yourself and others is one of struggle, loss, and defeat, then that story will shape your world. But if you start speaking about what's possible, about where you're headed, about who you're becoming, then that story begins to shift. Speak powerfully, not because life is easy, but because you've decided to lead yourself through it. Speak powerfully because your words are your first form of leadership over your thoughts, your habits, and your life. It's presence with purpose. In a world where noise dominates, where opinions are thrown around carelessly, and where constant reaction is expected, silence becomes a strategy, not a weakness. It's a conscious decision to step back, observe, and choose response over reaction. It's the difference between moving impulsively and moving intentionally. While others rush to speak, to defend, to argue, silence allows room for clarity to form, wisdom to rise, and power to settle. When used deliberately, silence protects energy. Not every conversation deserves your voice. Not every argument is worth entering. Not every opinion needs your correction. When you choose silence, you're not retreating, you're filtering. You're asking, is this worth my time? Does this align with who I'm becoming? Will speaking serve a purpose or just feed the noise? This kind of discernment is rare and powerful. It's the sign of someone who's mastered not only their voice, but their emotions. Silence is also a form of control. It creates space to think, space to feel, space to breathe before you act. In conflict, silence can disarm chaos. In pressure, it can prevent mistakes. When emotions run high, silence can keep you grounded. It is the pause that stops a reaction from becoming a regret. People who react immediately often regret quickly. But those who pause, who hold their silence, can navigate chaos with a calm that others mistake for indifference, but is actually strength in disguise. In leadership, silence often speaks louder than commands. It's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove their authority. It's presence, not performance. It says, I'm watching, I'm thinking, I'm choosing my next move wisely. When leaders remain silent in the face of adversity, they aren't frozen, they're formulating. They're letting others reveal their character while they preserve theirs. Silence, in this way, becomes a mirror. It reflects everything and hides nothing. People reveal themselves in silence, not just in yours, but in their discomfort with it. Silence invites others to fill the space. And that's when truth often comes out. In negotiations, interviews, tense moments, those who can hold silence have the upper hand. While others rush to fill the gap to justify or explain, the one who can remain still maintains control. That stillness is mistaken for passivity by the untrained, but it's one of the sharpest tools in influence. It commands attention without asking for it. It creates anticipation. It makes people lean in. Silence is also a path inward. When the noise dies down, what's left is you. Your thoughts, your intuition, your real voice beneath the layers of expectation. It's in silence that alignment is found. It's in silence that the real questions surface. What do I want? What matters to me? Am I reacting or responding? Am I chasing approval or staying grounded in purpose? Noise distracts from those questions. Silence invites them in. To master silence is to master restraint. And restraint is not about holding back. It's about holding power. There's strength in not needing to have the last word. There's wisdom in not sharing everything you know. There's leadership in knowing when to speak and when to let your presence say enough. When silence is chosen, not forced, it becomes a strategy that protects peace, sharpens perspective, and enhances authority. In a loud world, those who use silence intentionally are rare, but they are the ones others listen to when they finally speak. Because silence, when practiced well, makes every word more valuable. It's not absence, it's amplification. It's not withdrawal, it's observation. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. And when you master that strategy, you move differently, lead differently, and live more powerfully than the noise could ever allow. Money is often mistaken as a simple measure of income, but true wealth has far less to do with how much flows in, and far more to do with how wisely it is managed. Money reflects discipline. It reveals priorities, self-control, and the ability to think long-term. Two people can earn the same amount, but their financial outcomes will differ drastically based on how they handle that money. It's not the paycheck that builds wealth, it's the mindset behind every decision involving it. Discipline with money begins with awareness. It's knowing exactly what comes in, what goes out, and why. It's choosing to look at the numbers, even when it's uncomfortable. It's resisting the urge to spend without thought and replacing that habit with purpose-driven choices. The person who practices financial discipline doesn't chase quick pleasure or image-based consumption. They seek security, options, and freedom. Now, those outcomes come from delayed gratification, not impulse. Every financial choice becomes a mirror. Do you spend to impress? Do you buy to feel better? Do you avoid budgeting because it forces accountability? These patterns have nothing to do with how much you earn and everything to do with how you think. If your emotions control your wallet, your future gets mortgaged for your present comfort. But when discipline takes the lead, money becomes a tool, not a trap. Budgeting, saving, investing, and saying no to unnecessary purchases aren't restrictions. They are acts of self-respect. They're commitments to the future you're building. Money reveals how committed you are to that future. It shows whether you're willing to trade temporary wants for long-term gains. It shows whether you're living with intention or simply reacting to your environment. It's not glamorous. It's often quiet, repetitive, and invisible to others, but it's what builds financial stability from the inside out. Discipline with money also means refusing to compare your path to others. Just because someone appears to have more doesn't mean they're ahead. Flashy lifestyles often hide fragile realities. Debt can fund appearances, but discipline funds peace. The one who moves slower, spends wiser, and saves consistently may not get noticed right away, but they're building something real, something sustainable, something stress-proof. Over time, that quiet consistency creates a level of freedom that no flashy purchase can provide. Being disciplined with money also protects your energy. When you control your finances, you sleep better. You make decisions from a place of calm, not crisis. You're not living paycheck to paycheck or making choices out of desperation. That calm creates space for creativity, focus, and growth. You're no longer just surviving, you're building, you're choosing. You're leading your life, not reacting to it. And discipline doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up. It means tracking, adjusting, learning, and growing. It means saying, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm doing the work. Discipline is about respect. Respect for your goals, your time, your energy, and your future self. Every dollar spent is a ballot. And when you vote with discipline, you're casting a ballot for the life you truly want, not the one that just looks good on the outside. When your thoughts, your words, and your financial habits all align, a powerful internal momentum begins to build. It's not about external validation or quick wins. It's about creating a system within yourself that supports your goals, reflects your values, and fuels consistent progress. Alignment is what separates those who drift aimlessly from those who move with direction and purpose. It's not just about doing more, it's about doing what matters and doing it in harmony. Thought is where it all begins. The stories you tell yourself, the beliefs you hold, and the vision you carry in your mind shape the direction of your life. If your thoughts are scattered, doubtful, or rooted in fear, your actions will reflect that confusion. But when your thoughts are clear, intentional, and focused on what you truly want, you begin to move differently. You start choosing from a place of purpose rather than pressure. You begin to see possibilities instead of problems. Clarity of thought sharpens your awareness and strengthens your resolve. But thinking alone isn't enough. Your words have to follow. What you say out loud about yourself, your future, your finances, reinforces what you believe. Words are seeds. And when spoken consistently, they grow into the habits and expectations that shape your life. If you constantly speak from limitation or lack, you train yourself to expect scarcity. But if your words affirm discipline, purpose, and abundance, you align your language with your higher vision. Speaking with integrity to your goals means saying no when necessary, speaking up when it matters, and never using your voice to shrink your own potential. And then there's your money. Financial habits often expose whether or not your thoughts and words are truly in alignment. You can talk about success and dream about freedom, but if your spending habits contradict that vision, momentum stalls. Money doesn't lie, it tracks your discipline, your focus, and your commitment. If you're thinking one thing, saying another, and doing something entirely different with your finances, you'll stay stuck in a cycle of frustration. But when your financial actions support your thoughts and words, when you save, invest, and spend with clarity, you begin to build trust with yourself. That trust fuels momentum. But momentum isn't built in giant leaps. It's created through consistency. When your thoughts align with your words, and both align with your habits, you don't waste energy in internal conflict. You're not second-guessing, explaining, or justifying every move. You're simply moving forward, step by step, day by day. That forward motion compounds. What starts as discipline becomes a lifestyle. What once felt like sacrifice begins to feel like strength. And eventually, what once felt out of reach becomes your new normal. This alignment also creates peace. There's a calm confidence in knowing you're living according to your own values. You don't need to compare yourself to others or defend your decisions. You're building something real, internally and externally. And that creates a foundation that's not easily shaken. The momentum you build becomes self-sustaining because it's coming from within, not from the approval or expectations of the outside world. And the best part? Momentum doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty. It requires being truthful with yourself about where you are and where you want to go. It requires small, consistent adjustments to stay aligned. If you fall off track, you realign. If you lose focus, you reset. That ability to realign quickly is what keeps you moving when others give up. True momentum is born from alignment. Not effort alone, not talent alone, but from the powerful synergy between your mind, your voice, and your actions. When those three come together, you don't just move, you accelerate. You don't just survive, you thrive. And that's when success becomes inevitable. Success isn't born from flashes of motivation or bursts of energy that appear once in a while when everything feels just right. Success is built in the quiet, often unseen moments of discipline. Those times when motivation is nowhere to be found, but you still show up. It's not glamorous. It doesn't always feel exciting, but it's consistent control of your thoughts, your habits, your focus that produces real, lasting results. The people who succeed long-term aren't those who wait for the perfect moment or the perfect mood. They are the ones who decide over and over again to keep moving even when their emotions try to slow them down. They've trained themselves to act in alignment with their goals rather than reacting to every passing feeling. That's the real game changer. The ability to control your choices when your mind is tired, your body is tempted to quit, and your environment offers every excuse to stop. Control doesn't mean being rigid or robotic, it means being intentional. It means choosing to lead your life instead of letting circumstances or moods lead you. When you control how you respond to stress, how you handle setbacks, how you prioritize your time, you begin to shape your outcomes. Control isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent with what matters most, especially when it's inconvenient. Motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes. Some days it's easy to feel inspired. You hear something powerful, you see progress, you feel hope, and you take action. But what about the days when nothing feels right? When the progress is invisible, when your goals seem far away and unreachable? That's when consistent control matters most. That's when habits, systems, and self-discipline step in to carry you through the gap between where you are and where you want to be. The truth is, success is mostly unremarkable on the surface. It's waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's choosing the long-term reward over the short-term pleasure. It's saying no to distractions so you can say yes to your future. These choices don't always feel powerful in the moment. They may feel small, even boring. But compounded over time, they're unstoppable. Control over your mindset is key. When you let every doubt, every fear, or every criticism shake your belief, you lose momentum. But when you learn to manage your self-talk, to remind yourself of your purpose, to choose resilience over reaction, you gain clarity. You create an inner environment strong enough to support the weight of your vision. That's the foundation of consistency. Control also shows up in how you treat your commitments. When you treat your promises to yourself with the same seriousness you treat your promises to others, you elevate your standard. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You become someone who can be trusted, not just by others, but by yourself. That kind of self-trust is powerful. It builds confidence, it creates identity. It reinforces that you are the kind of person who follows through, regardless of how you feel. And over time, consistent control transforms your life, not in one giant leap, but in 100 small steps. Each time you show up, each time you choose progress over comfort, each time you say yes to growth and no to distraction, you become a little stronger. You move a little closer. You separate yourself from the crowd that only moves when it feels good. Success doesn't require perfect conditions. It demands disciplined action. Control the controllables, your thoughts, your attitude, your effort. Let the others chase motivation. You build systems, build structure, build habits. Because when the excitement fades and motivation disappears, it's control that keeps you going. And that's how real success is earned. Success doesn't come from waiting for the right mood or chasing fleeting motivation. It comes from mastering yourself, your mind, your habits, your actions, day after day. When you choose consistent control over occasional effort, you build unshakable momentum. You prove to yourself, not through emotion, but through discipline, that you are capable of creating lasting change. This is the path to true success. Showing up when it's hard, committing when it's uncomfortable, and staying the course when no one is watching. Control is the foundation. Build on it, and there's no limit to what you can achieve.